Okay, we are officially streaming live.
We'll give it just a couple more minutes. Make sure no one else wants to join us. Give me a second to cut my phone off so it quits blowing up. Hello, Lauren.
No, Matt. Hi, sir.
Good. So I have 11:30. If it's all right with everybody, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could, maybe first, just so we've got, in case we've got people from the public listening in, watching the live stream, let's just go around and each person who is on here say their name. So I'm Matthew Rice.
Marie Rice.
Lauren Thomas.
Stephen Hendricks.
Tyler Engel.
All right. And thank you, Tyler, for joining us today. I sent out an email yesterday to commissioners letting you know that Tyler would be joining us, that he wanted to address our committee. Also see that we've got Richard joining us from the Irwin Records. So thank you, Richard, for joining us. The main thing that we wanted to have our meeting about today, so Tyler, if it's okay, we'll start with that. We have a piece of property near the Unicoi County, Washington County line. We've talked about this in prior committee meetings, potentially developing that property into like a river access park. So I wanted to put it before our committee. We have a proposal from Doug Treadway to do a land survey, and that's for $2,100. And then we also have a land purchase agreement for purchasing the property, and that is contingent on getting 50,000 of TWRA grant funds. And so let me pause there and back up and talk about a little bit of the things that have happened in the last month or so. Mentioned earlier, Mayor Evely couldn't join us today. He had a conflict here for a little bit, but he and I met with Bart Carter and Leslie Morgan and Song Hopkins, who is the new recreation program manager for the Forest Service, and had a real encouraging meeting down there at the site. And Mayor Evely's been in touch with the property owner, and they feel pretty confident that this will be a good project. Bart Carter, after our meeting, he did call me, gave me an update that currently TWRA has a freeze on the grant funding. He said if we were doing this project 2 years ago, this would be a slam dunk. He's asked for $50,000 for the project. That would cover purchasing the property, surveying, closing costs, a little bit of site work, graveling the site, a little bit of light grade work. So basically that's where we're at. His suggestion, the way we left it with Bart Carter, who was with TWRA, he suggested that our next step should be getting a survey of the property, getting an option to purchase the property. He felt like 12 months was reasonable to give them enough time to come up with the funds in Nashville. he did say that, currently they have a freeze on that grant money, but depending on how the COVID-19 situation goes, I don't think any of us can kind of predict that, but he feels like sometime in the future, those funds will be available. And if we've done the work on our part to, have the project set up and ready to go, that, it would really look well for getting those funds released pretty quickly. The mayor recently spoke with Song Hopkins, who was the program manager for the Forest Service. He actually called the mayor to ask how our progress was going here on the county side, and the mayor updated him that we were working towards getting a land purchase agreement and getting a survey, and that the commission would be considering that soon. And he said that once we do that, that he would go ahead and get started on the environmental review process and the things that would be needed on the Forest Service site to actually have the access into the river, because I think we all know that the parcel that we're looking at doesn't actually adjoin the river. There's a strip that's owned by the Forest Service that the Forest Service will have to do whatever work needs to happen on their property. And they were talking like it would be, the access point for launching boats and small watercraft, not like motorized or anything, but, kayaks and rafts and float tubes and canoes, maybe things like that. And also maybe some picnic areas there on the Forest Service property. So on our property, we would be looking more like just gravel parking area, which is what people are using it for currently. So I will stop there. That is pretty much the update, and see if any of our other committee members have thoughts, comments, questions.
Matt, I do have a question. What is the TWRA grant called? What's the name of that grant?
He didn't give me a name of the grant. That's a good question. It's basically, they have a pool of funds at TWRA down in Nashville, and I don't know how else to explain it, but he mentioned that he was talking to his real estate group, and he did not give a name for what that pool of funding, but he did say the source of that funding is, it comes from whenever people buy their license, their boat registrations, and they also, whenever they buy fuel for their boats on the lakes, there's a tax, and that money goes to this fund, and then they use that fund to improve, develop new TWRA access points, properties that TWRA manages. So that's basically where the source of the money comes from, but he didn't give a specific name for the grant.
Okay, I knew there was one out there for larger vessels, but I didn't know if it would apply to the kayaks and smaller boats. But there's some more grants maybe available. We probably ought to just sort of look at them or see what that criteria is in case something did fall through here. But it sounds like this is a real promising grant.
Yeah, he said that there was a lot of interest. I mean, Bart's words were basically that this would be a slam dunk 2 years ago, but right now it's just the timing of it.
Yes.
They're not releasing funds for any project right now. It's kind of a little bit of a moratorium on releasing those funds until people have a better picture of what's going to happen with coronavirus and tax revenues and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I guess what I would be asking for from our committee, if you guys have had a chance to look over that land sales agreement and the survey, if we might want to have a motion and a second to consider recommending that to the full commission for their consideration.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that would be the three of us on the committee. We are recommending this to the full commission. So that is all the business that I had to cover. And if anybody thinks of any questions, we'll be able to maybe discuss it further at the full commission meeting when we get this on the agenda. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Tyler and let him address us, update us on things going on with
Thanks,
the economic
Matt.
development.
We have over the last 7 months, 6 months, I guess, seen unparalleled economic upheaval. Fortunately, we've not seen the effects in Unicoi County that other counties in Tennessee have seen. So we've not had it as good as we did last year, but it's not as bad as it could have been. You know, Davidson County had to raise their tax rate $1 on the 134%. And I know you all had to do a little tax increase there, but certainly we were spared from the worst. We announced, of course, Plasti Exports, the largest foreign direct investment in many, many years, $7 million, 115 jobs. So we were pleased with the outcome of that project. We worked closely with PVA and TNECD to get that project to fruition. And best of all, as we knew it was a tight year, amid COVID, we were able to see that project through and retain all of the city and county tax dollars on that property. So they will be paying 100% of the county tax on both real and personal property for day one of operation. So we find that to be a really positive outcome. The real reason that I needed to speak with you is, you may know, you may not, the Economic Development Board over the last 4 years, Tish's last year and then my 3 years, has completely exhausted its fund balance. And frankly, this is because although everyone in the town of Unicoi pay their portion, which is approved in committee and voted upon twice, the 1101 budget, that is, the county has chosen to short fund the 1101 budget. And so that was only $26,000 short in fiscal 18. Fiscal 19, that became 40,000, and fiscal 20 and fiscal 21, it was $50,000 each year. So a total of $167,000 in arrears. Again, I understand that the county is in a particular pinch place with relation to funding, with relation to especially and having to draw money down. You know, I'm the chairman of the school board. I have to put together a balanced budget to bring to you all to make that work. And sometimes we have to make hard decisions. I guide the budgeting process for the Economic Development Board, and we've had to make hard decisions to make all of these dollars and cents work inside of a framework. So, you know, the frank reality of this conversation is that Joint Economic and Community Development Board will be out of money at Christmas. So that is with doing no prospect activity. That's no travel, no training. That's just paying a salary, paying for a bookkeeper and auditor, and basically keeping the phone on. And so my appeal today is for you to use money from somewhere to pay back the amount that is owed, which is $50,533 for this year. Obviously, you know, there's another 110,000 or so that we've spent that we probably will never see back. But we really think the county has an obligation to the taxpayer to fully fund the Economic Development Board and to fully fund the Economic Development Program, especially when so many commissioners run on the basis of jobs and job creation. You know, those two don't balance when you don't fund the job creation entity, but you expect all this job creation work. So I just wanted to present that. And then also that in addition to that money flushing out, we've paid $43,000 $4,200 to the county executive's office on the Industrial Park Railroad bond. So we've not only had not enough money coming in, but we've had money going out to the county, which again just creates an even more difficult financial picture for economic development. And this is my livelihood. This is my job. I'm sure I can move on and find something else, but this is also about the 180 jobs that were created at Food City, $12.5 million in investment. This is about foam products, the 70 jobs that were created there. This is about the FBI at Plasty Exports. You know, it really gives me pause because I find it difficult to understand why the county continues to choose to not fund economic development, but to talk about job creation and to talk about that as a priority.
So does anyone have any comments, questions for Tyler at this time? Tyler and I have talked about the, I guess the logistical way he would seek that additional funding would be to submit a budget request for the county to consider. And
well, we submitted, now I'm going to say, we submitted a budget request for 115,533. You all didn't fulfill that request. So, you know, that request should be the request you should look at, not some new request. You should look at the original request that was submitted to the county executive's office.
so Stephen can correct me if I'm wrong. He's chair of our finance committee, but our budget is set for this fiscal year right now. And in order for us to change the budget, we would have to have a budget amendment request because there were lots of requests that were submitted during budget time that didn't get funded and things that got cut. And so anything new, Stephen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it would have to be a budget amendment.
You are correct. We'd have to actually wait for the state to approve the budget. So we can't do budget requests until we have an approval from the state on our budget. Once that happens, then we could do amendments throughout the remainder of the year, but we have to wait on that process first.
So I'm hearing not really something that we will need to vote on like at this month's commission meeting. We'll have to get our budget approved. It'd be something we can maybe pick up in the next couple months and consider.
Yeah, I haven't heard from the mayor's office if the budget was approved by the state yet or not. So,
Well, and again, I'll just remind everyone, this budget isn't something that I make up and send in. It's voted on by the executive committee of the Economic Development Board, which is statutory. It's also voted on by the full board of directors of the Economic Development Board. So it's voted on twice, that's a statutory requirement, and then it's sent over to you all. So, you know, there have been lots of hands on this budget and lots of people know exactly what the needs are. So, you know, we can wait on the controller to approve the budget, whatever we need to do. But, you know, if we're not going to get anywhere, there's not really any point in continuing the exercise.
Thoughts, comments from any other commissioners at this time? Okay. Well, Tyler, I think it's something that's going to be an ongoing conversation over the next weeks and months.
I'm sure that it will be. And, you know, again, I really hope that the folks who voted for these amounts don't run on jobs in 22. That's not mentioned in any campaign materials because you've not funded job creation activity and you funded the request, the statutory board that you approve as the primary economic development organization sends to you for 4 years straight. So I really hope in 22 that I don't see any advertisements that include job creation, because we've proven that that's not a priority by the county.
So noted. Guys, I don't hear of any other comments, questions. Tyler, I want to say thanks for sharing with us and bringing this to our attention, and I'm sure we will be in touch and be working towards a resolution here in the future. So appreciate the information. Is there a motion that we adjourn this meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Matthew.
Second?
Second, I mean,
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
uh,
Uh,
Goodbye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
thank
everybody.
you all.